I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Good afternoon, happy family, and welcome to another exciting edition of Happy Talks. I'm your host today. My name is Taki Grant. I'm excited to be here with you. It's actually been some time since the last broadcast I was on, but I'm happy to be back, happy to be here. We have an exciting show today as we talk about this HAPI movement, what it exactly means. The show deals with something very important to the Black community, and that's establishment of more Black financial institutions. So here with us today, we have the Executive Director of Appeal Credit Union, a brother by the name of Dr. Kelechi Egwim. And we also have with us our illustrious and esteemed scholar, Professor Anthony Browder. But before we get into that, there's a couple things we just want to kind of go over in regards to what's going on in HAPI. For those who have not seen HAPI, this is a great opportunity to get your tickets now. The next screening of the film is Saturday, February 13th at 7 p.m. And you get your tickets at www.hapifilm.com. It's essentially important that you do that. And we talk about this HAPI movement, what it's all about. HAPI Talks, so people have come to grow in love, has started with the HAPI film. So it's an essential, important element, particularly when we talk about the HAPI movement, to understand the historical concepts of finance. And HAPI itself, the film itself, is a snapshot of economic history from the beginning of time until today. So it's a film that you must see. It's a must see for our community because it answers a lot of the questions and it provides a lot of solutions in terms of where we need to go. With that, we always love the support. We want to thank all our subscribers and followers. We're approaching 12,000 now on YouTube. I want to say thank you for that. You know, the love is real. Felicia and I definitely want to extend our gratitude to everyone. We also want to talk about those people who are now part of the HAPI team, the HAPI movement. With that, we got this exciting revamp of our newsletter. So those who are not signed up to the newsletter, please go get a copy or go up to the website, put your information in, and you'll get the monthly newsletter coming to you. www.hapifilm.com, HAPIFILM, for the newsletter. We got, like I said, exciting new people on board. Abu Shishai, dealing with the health piece, Brother Omawale Africa, who just actually released the film, An American Dilemma. Go check that out as well. We also have the Happy on a Happy with Anthony Browder Volume 2 coming out very soon. So be on the lookout for that exciting piece of information. And again, with the film, if you just don't want to wait till February 13th, you can always go to the website and get a copy, digital copy, or a DVD. Yeah, we also have some other news. King Simon talking about his fantastic book is going to be this Thursday at 7 p.m. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But without any further ado, we want to bring in our guest today, Professor Anthony Browder and Dr. Egwim.
Greetings.
Greetings, brothers. How are you? How are you, sirs? How's everything?
We're good.
We're good. Thank you for having us.
So, you know, this is a really exciting conversation because it talks about something that's extremely important. You know, economics, as we know, those who haven't seen HAPI, go see it, is the foundation for everything we do in this life. Economics comes out of our ecology, the ecosystem, everything that we do in terms of just how we operate in our daily lives, in our communities. Today, economics has been associated with finance. So on that note, we have with us the executive director of a new exciting financial institution in our community, and that's Appeal Credit Union. So Dr. Kelechi Egwim, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, I'm the executive director of Appeal Incorporated, which is the organization working to establish the Appeal Federal Credit Union. Appeal is a Black empowerment organization. It's actually an acronym. It stands for Association of People for Pan-Africanist Economic Advancement Through Leverage, right? And that leverage is really the capital that we have as a community. You know, our mission is to organize and strategically utilize the vast resources of people of African descent, locally, nationally, and internationally, in order to really facilitate economic empowerment, educational enrichment, and build strong, sustainable, prosperous communities. So that's our broader mission, and we have several platforms towards that mission. One of those is a financial literacy piece. We know that it's not always about having money. It's understanding, your relationship with that money and how you use it, and how it connects with your past and your present, which will of course dictate your future. So you have to have that orientation, that context, as well as just having basic information. We have a low a too low level, I should say, of financial literacy in our community. So we need to increase the financial literacy of our people in general. So we have a whole workshop series. We have actually a total of probably about 36 or so workshops throughout the year. Some are focused on financial literacy, some are focused on historical cultural literacy, because you got to have that historical, cultural, and political piece, right? It all has to be connected. We are a socioeconomic organization, not just an economic organization. You cannot separate the two. So it's all about creating the holistic place where we can empower our people. So in addition to the workshops that we also have field trips. We have other educational and edutainment activities. And we also have a partnership with Black manufacturers, a variety of them, including True, many may be familiar with True Detergent, Freedom Paper. They produce a variety of products, Good Vibes, Azuli. There are so many Black manufacturers throughout the country that make the things that we use anyway. We're not talking about spending money that we don't have. We recognize that there is a limited capital, right, to an extent, limited funds for a lot of our people throughout the country. We know that we're not cash flushed as a mass of people. So it's not about spending money you're not already spending. It's about spending the money you're already spending with your own people, because everybody buys all these products that we focus on for the partnership. The idea is to really connect the manufacturer with the customers. So that's what the Black Sided Co-op is about. We also have a think tank and various other activities that go on throughout the year, really, working towards that mission. And of course, one of the major things that we have is this effort to create the first nationally available federal credit union, Black federal credit union.
Wow, thank you for that. So you sort of answered some of my questions, the following questions, but appeal, the word itself, I understand it's an acronym, but how did that word come about?
Well, the word came about from, I would say, our founder, Brother Lasana Mack. There's a book, which I'm sure you've heard of, David Walker's Appeal, which really speaks to the needs of African people. Of course, this was written, centuries ago, but it still spoke to the need, right? The need that still exists, and a recognition that we are a connected people, and ultimately we have to be the ones to lift ourselves up or put us where we want to be. It's our burden to solve our problem, right? And it's important to appeal to our own people, not to anybody else, but to our own people, so that we recognize that. Once we recognize that, then we move forward. I think that was the main inception for that word. And when you talk about our mission, the word appeal just seems to come up a lot. We need to appeal to this, appeal to that. So it made perfect sense. I would say Brother Lasana Mack, who we credit for being really the brain behind the operation. He was a multi-genius. And this was really, in many ways, a culmination of all the work that he did in the course of his life in terms of community, finance. Lasana Mack was the treasurer of DC for many, many years. And he, of course, worked in finance for many, many years. And he handled, so much, understood the system so much, and analyzing all that, came to the conclusion that we needed this organization to do this work, and the name really comes from him.
Thank you. So before we go any further, family, just do me a favor, please. Subscribe, like, and share this video. It's very important information. Also, for those on YouTube, please feel free to support the program with the super chats. Also, we also have now the hapifilm Cash App handle. So please feel free to support it. Like I said, like and share this video. Extremely important. Professor Browder, I understand you have an involvement on an executive level. Please share with the family your involvement with the credit union.
Sure. When Brother Lasana Mack founded Appeal a number of years ago, he invited me to sit on the board, and I've served in that capacity since its inception. As Brother Kelechi was stating, Appeal is a natural desire among conscious African people to assume greater control of our destiny in all aspects of our lives. And Lasana was, as Kelechi mentioned, he was heavily involved in finance in the district government. He was the DC treasurer. He had traveled throughout the country, getting bonds for the city. So he knew the financial world inside and out. And his desire was to use his financial expertise, which was benefiting the district government, to benefit his own people. And so it was a mission that he saw was vitally important to us, turning the page and becoming self-sufficient. So the idea behind the Appeal organization was to bring the consciousness to our people so that we would understand that we've always been the financial engine that has driven the success of the United States of America. This country would not be the most powerful nation on the face of this planet were it not for the presence of African people. So it's about claiming, not running from it, not hiding from it. Although we were the financial engine for this nation as we were enslaved, we can now become the financial engine for this country and a greater part of the world by freeing our minds, freeing our consciousness, and understanding that whoever controls your mind controls your income, controls how you spend your money. And so it's a matter of freeing the mind so that we can free our pocketbooks. And once we free our pocketbooks, we can assume greater control over freeing other Black people wherever we may be in the world. Nothing happens without money. Nothing happens to a people without having a healthy relationship with finance, with currency, with all of these things which are essential to our being. And Brother Taki, just as your film, HAPI, points out, we were the ones who started this whole process thousands of years ago. And so all we need to do is to reconnect with that which we created and then manifest that knowledge in the present moment in order to recreate again the financial, the cultural power that will allow us to do what we've always had the capacity to do. So it's a wonderful synthesis of financial literacy and cultural literacy, historical literacy, and technology, and using all of these tools now in the present moment to do what I feel we all were born to do. I mean, us coming together now for this meeting, I don't believe it's coincidental. I think that it was something that was destined to happen, and each of us are playing a role in order to facilitate that destiny. And so we continue building and growing, and we bring other people into the fold so that they become a part of something that is already happening, but is outside of the awareness of many people. So it's about raising that awareness.
So a couple of things you said kind of sparked interest immediately. And one of the things I want to come to is consciousness and money. Dr. Egwim and I had a conversation about that, and I want you to add some commentary to that. And it seems to elude us as a people for some reason. It seems like people who have consciousness, centered African-centered people, are kind of afraid of money, and kind of the other way around. So we need to kind of elaborate on why it's important for us to, as forward-thinking people, to also have our wallets and our minds kind of in the same direction.
All right, the only people who are afraid of money are people who don't understand what money is. Money is a tool. Money is energy. That's why it's called currency. Yep. And the symbol that represents the dollar, that S with a vertical line through it, was originally known as the thaler. And that was a symbol that was associated with the Greek personality of commerce and transportation and goods and services. And that was the Greek personality, who was known as Hermes, was reinterpreted by the Greeks as Mercury. And so Mercury is about transportation. It's about movement of the mind. It's about movement of that is physical. And those of us who've studied our culture, studied HAPI in the Nile Valley, know that Mercury and Hermes, those two personalities were derived from Jehuti. So Jehuti, or Thoth, as the Greeks called him, is the personality that represents the process of divine articulation of speech. And thought precedes speech. So everything that we do begins first as a thought within our mind, within our consciousness. So it's really a manifestation of the powers of the principles associated with Jehuti. So once you understand that, then poverty is a state of consciousness, right? To be comfortable and financially stable, it begins first in the mind, begins first with the consciousness. You have to see yourself as being empowered. You have to see yourself as having been connected with the people who created the first system of power, the first system of economics, the first systems of finance. So that knowledge already exists, and that knowledge was never, we were never separated from that knowledge. The only thing that we were separated from was our ability to remember that we are part of that stream of consciousness. And that's what the whole process of enslavement and discrimination was all about, to erase our ability to access those memories. But those memories continue to exist within us. And so this whole process now is a revitalization of the essence of who we are, or as I like to refer to it, activating the ASET principle, that is remembering, putting together all of the pieces that we were not supposed to remember. So we are remembering now. And with that memory comes the power, all of the power that is associated with it. So I live my life with the understanding that we manifest our reality. So it's about seeing yourself already empowered, and then stepping into that vision, and then expressing that through everything that you have in your body. And then, almost like magic, if you will, if we want to use that term, you begin to draw other like-minded people to you. And then as that collective energy builds, then it enhances this power that you collectively has, and then draws even more people to you. So that is a process by which this thing is happening now in real time. So I would dare say that a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we all will reap the benefits of the energy that we set in motion just by having this conversation. And those who are watching this conversation live, I trust that the things that we're talking about will stimulate thoughts within their minds that will allow them to remember. And as the process of remembering, then what we're saying will resonate with them, right? And as that energy resonates, then you feel the truth, right? And with the feeling of this truth is a knowing that this is your obligation. Is an understanding that what we're saying feels good to you. So it removes the doubt that has been planted in our mind that Black people can't work together, or Black people can't say. No, remove all of that, because that's not our reality. That's our oppressor's reality. So it's about affirming what has always been a part of our consciousness and repeating that over and over and over again until it becomes the dominant consciousness. And then that then takes us into the future that we're creating.
Right. Black people working again. Black people working together, or destroying the notion of Black people not being able to work together.
Absolutely.
With that, Dr. Egwim.
Let me speak on that a little bit as well, because it speaks of birthright, right? We're talking about our birthright. I mean, that's what that HAPI tells us, is that we have this history, and anybody who is willing to give up their birthright, give up their control of this energy of commerce, and and make it seem like it's an antithesis of who they are, then you're giving up your birthright. You're giving up your control of who you are to someone else who you claim not to trust, you claim not to have faith on, yet you're willing to give up your birthright, to that system. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. We can't take responsibility for ourselves if we don't take responsibility for our commerce. I mean, freedom has never been free.
Right.
It has never been free. If you speak of freedom, but you're not willing to fight for it, you're not willing to work for it, then don't use those words. Don't use that word, right? Because it's all about what we are willing to do for ourselves. So the idea that you can somehow divorce your reality, your future, from commerce, that and like Baba Tony said, this is an energy that flows. Money isn't good or bad. People can apply it in a variety of ways depending on who that person is, but in and of itself, it's a currency. It's literally energy that flows. Folks that hoard it tend to have it blocked up, right? If you cut it off, it's not going to flow. So you have to have an understanding that this is a tool that is there for us to use, and it is our responsibility to use it. It's our birthright to use it to the benefit of our people. We have to change that mentality of somehow being commerce being the emphasis of being conscious. If you don't understand that, you're not really conscious.
Right.
Well said.
So, Dr. Egwim, when I look at the logo, it's very eye-catching. I just want to know if there's any significance to the logo in terms of its design, its layout.
Yes, the logo is based on the Adinkra symbol based in Saka, which is basically it's a Adinkra symbol. It symbolizes collective finance, collective work. It's actually it's one of the many Adinkra symbols from Ghana. And this is created from that. It's not exactly that, but essentially we added some color to it. But the idea is that we can pool our resources together in order to achieve something, in order to achieve what we need to achieve. So it comes from that symbol of cooperative economics, if you will, from the Adinkra symbols of Ghana.
Thank you for that. Family, please like, share, and subscribe. You've got to share this video, get it out, get this information out. Dr. Egwim, how can people support this endeavor?
Well, there are a lot of really simple ways to do that. Right now, we are in the process of doing a crowdfunding campaign. We've been at this effort for some time. We didn't just wake up today and say, hey, we're gonna do this. We've been working at this since really 2012. Appeal was founded in 2013 officially. We've been really focusing on the crowdfunding, the credit union, and in terms of going through all the steps we have to do to actually get the charter since about 2016, 17, and we've been able to make a major headways towards it. We've already identified subscribers, which is basically there's a whole process, much like most folks are more familiar with the process for banks. FDIC, that's sort of a household term, but there's another agency called NCUA, which regulates credit unions. This whole effort is about creating something that's not just useful to us, but is also secure. We want to get all the benefits that are available to all these other corporations, right? But do it as a cooperative, as a financial cooperative. And the way to do that is to use the charter from the NCUA. That way, we know that all of our deposits are guaranteed up to $250,000. We have all these insurances and access to networks and so on and so forth. So we've been in this process. We've already gotten preliminary approval of our name. Actually, we actually have where we're technically the appeal proposed federal credit union. Proposed means that we haven't gotten the final approval. We've gotten a preliminary approval for that. So we've been engaged in this process. We've gotten to a point where we're trying to raise the capital we need to show viability for 5 years. That's basically where we are. We've gone through the name, the subscribers themselves, who are the individuals who are actually the connections with this agency. You have to go through a very vigorous recruitment process, and then vetting process, and then they check this, check that. You want to make sure that the folks that are in front of this are reputable, have no skeletons in the closet, if you will, so that you can trust them to go through this process. We've gone through that point, and we're at the point now where we need capital. We need we need to raise $300,000, and up to this point, we've already raised $100,000. So we've been doing work, right? We've gotten to this point, but we need that balance, right? Because the idea is you want to be able to show viability for at least 5 years. They're looking for a charter that's going to last, and they're not trying to issue charters to groups and then like 3 years down the road, you run out of capital or whatever. So this is why we're trying to raise this amount of money so that we can get approved for the charter. And then once we have the charter, we'll be able to have members and folks with accounts from all over the country. This is a national effort. This is not localized to any particular area. This is a national effort. So what people can do simply is to go to our crowdfunding page, which you can go to appealinc.org and find the crowdfunding page, or you can actually, I think she's going to put the link in the chat as well. You can go to appealinc.org/credit union crowdfunding, right? That'll also take you to the crowdfunding page. So back it, right? In other words, donate to it and share it. We need to make this go viral. I mean, this is the first effort to organize anything like this, right? I mean, so it's critical that we, the primary beneficiaries of it, take it that seriously and back it and share it. We donate money, we put money towards a whole bunch of different things, right? This is something that benefits everyone. Folks that want to have organizations. We have our own. I was gonna call him an elder. He is an elder, even though he looks like he's still in his 20s. Brother Tony Browder here was doing a wonderful work in Kemet with ACE Restoration Project, and so many other things he's doing with groups in all over the country, including San Francisco with the schools, and so many things he's doing. These efforts need capital. Who's going to fund them? It's for us. No one's going to fund your liberation but you, right? So we need to be able to pool our resources so we can fund all these efforts, right? Whether it's a business that needs capital, whether it's a community that needs to revitalize, create community centers and revitalize things in the community so you can create access, whether it's homeowners trying to get approval because Bank of America, whoever it is they're going to right now, doesn't see their community as being viable. Or if you go, they'll give you some subprime product that you're gonna end up, paying for later on. We need to change our relationship with the system and stop begging them to approve our projects, our businesses, our communities in a sense, and use the resources we already have, right? The capital we already have in their banks. Every time you make a deposit into that bank, you are giving them leverage to use your capital to get even more capital. If they're not using that capital to benefit your community, then you're literally funding your own your own enslavement in a sense. You're literally using your money so that they can fund groups like ALEC who can support politicians that you're now going to go and protest, but then you funded them being there by your little amounts of money. If we put our little amounts of money together, right, we now have the capital we need. We can now leverage our own capital to build what we want to build, to support what we want to support. So long story short, easiest way is to go to the crowdfunding page, again, appealinc.org/crowdfunding, or credit union crowdfunding, or you can go to appealinc.org. We definitely want you to join Appeal. Appeal is a nonprofit organization. All these efforts that we're doing, you can be part of it. We need you to be part of it. We need you to join our financial literacy team, our historical cultural literacy team, our think tank. All the work that we're doing in the community is being done by volunteers. We need you to join in that effort. This is a national effort to change our relationship with the system, right? So simple way, crowdfunding, but beyond that, join Appeal, get involved with Appeal. We want to be the vehicle for you to get engaged, right? The vehicle for you to actually be part of the solution, as opposed to, we talk about, problems we have, but we actually have solutions, but someone needs to work it. Yeah. Sitting there ain't gonna do it. Knowledge by itself is not power without action, right? So that's the simple and the long.
So, Dr. Egwin, before we move any further, I just want you to say, give them the direct link again, slowly, and we
Right.
want to put it on the screen. This way, we can kind of eliminate some steps and then go straight to the crowdfunding page so they can help support it.
Gotcha. So appealinc.org/credit union crowdfunding. Appeal Inc. It's APPEALINC.org/credit union crowdfunding. Or you can just go to appealinc.org. As soon as you go to the website, you'll see a big red bar that says support the crowdfunding campaign. So you don't have to remember that whole long link. Just go into appealinc.org and you'll be able to click on that. It'll take you right to the crowdfunding page. You can also, donate to Appeal directly, but we really want folks to be part of this crowdfunding campaign. This is all about, using social media, in a positive way. We need the ball to roll. We need a avalanche of support, right? Because we know we support a whole bunch of stuff on social media. What little we have, individuals. We're not asking for folks to make a huge, and it's important. I think it's personally important, to have as many of us engaged as possible, as buy-in, right? It's not about somebody dropping, $1 million, right? And now they own it. No, it's about the community taking ownership with your $50 donation or $100 donation or $25 donation. You're buying into this process, right? So now we're accountable to you. That's what we want. We want as many of our people as possible to actually get engaged and be part of the solution.
So getting engaged, being part of the solution. I have another question for you. What is the significance of credit union effort? Like, why a credit union, not a black bank?
Right. Okay. So black banks are important. They play a significant role in the community. I'm not. We are right. I'm located in the DC area. We have one of the best black banks, which is an industrial bank, which has fostered a very welcoming, sincere relationship with the community for many, many years, right? And they continue to do so. As a matter of fact, they support us. That we actually have our money in their bank, right? And they're critical to the community because they provide services when others don't. But ultimately, black banks, any bank, it's a private entity. You have a family, right? Or you may have a couple of individuals who own it. When it makes profit, the profit goes to the owners. It's not a community-owned entity, right? It's critical to the community in the sense that it provides access to banking, checking, and we have online banks. Some that have started more recently that provide access to black banks. Even if you don't have one in your local area, but at the end of the day, it's still owned by private individuals. It is not a cooperative. It is something there for profit. When profit is made, it goes to the owners. They provide services, but at the end of the day, the profit is not shared with the community the way a credit union is functioning. Credit union is a nonprofit organization. There are no owners. The members are the owners. So every amount of profit that's gained goes right back to the community in terms of no interest or low interest loans, in terms of services, in terms of other things that banks simply not equipped to do. So that's a big piece, is who actually benefits from it aside from the general benefit of being available. We as a community would benefit from the credit union because we would be the ones benefiting from all of our efforts, right? And then of course we have the control, because banks are private. Their shareholders or private owners decide what happens. Where do they invest? Where do they expand? What services do they provide? What rates do they provide? What are some things that they can do to support this or support that? All that is being controlled by individuals. And even though you have a account in that bank, whether it's black or otherwise, you don't have a say in that. But as a credit union, each member has one vote. One member, one vote, right? So regardless of how much you have, you got $1 billion and you got $1 and they got the same vote as everybody else. So that's the distinction, is that the credit union structure allows us to take advantage of a more communal, cooperative relationship with the community, so that the community has a hand in directing not only where the capital goes, right? Where the resources go, and are able to really benefit directly from uh, whatever fruit, right? That tree bears, and it's really critical that we have this relationship, because that allows us to do things that banks, are not really are not really designed to do. Banks are not there for community gain. They're there for profit, right? It is a business. A credit union is a nonprofit organization. It's a nonprofit effort. Even if it's a financial institution, the idea is really to take all the profit and give it back to the members, give it back to the community, so that it can do things that it needs to do.
Okay, so we understand you're in a developmental phase right now. What is the planned opening in
Well,
terms of for functionality of the actual credit union, the charter itself?
as soon as we raise the capital, I mean, this is where we are. We've gone a long way, and we'll continue to go. But we want to achieve this as soon as possible. And the easiest way for us to be able to operate as soon as possible is to get the support, and the financial support. And which is why we're having this crowdfunding campaign. Like I said, we've already raised, a third of what we need, right? Just through our various fundraisers and other activities, partnerships, what have you. But we're at a point we need the community to step in and step up, right? And support it, because as soon as we have the capital that we need, then we can get the charter, and then we can begin to operate. Of course, initially we're going to be an online bank, online credit union initially, right? But as time goes on, we want to have physical branches of the credit union all over the country. But initially, we're going to start off as an online entity, and most everything happens online now anyway. I mean, even the physical financial institutions are closing their brick and mortar, right? Because folks aren't necessarily even going there. So and because we're doing it in this way as being part of the NCUA, we'll have access to ATMs from any credit union in the country. It doesn't matter if it's a PEAL or a credit union or not. If it's whatever credit union, if they're a federal credit union, they're part of that network. So you'll be able to have access to operate your account from any credit union ATM in the country. That's a network we critically need, which will be critical to us being able to function online initially, and then we expand from there.
Okay. So you mentioned the NCUA. What is that? Could you please elaborate on that, please?
That's the National Credit Union Administration. It's basically the credit union version of the FDIC. It's basically it's a government agency that regulates credit unions.
Okay.
And it provides charters for them.
Right. So, and essentially, like the FDIC, that money in the credit union is insured up to what amount?
A quarter of $1,000,000, for each individual depositor.
Okay, so people who deposit into the appeal credit union is covered by the NCUA, which ensures their deposits up to $250,000 per individual.
Exactly, similar to with the FDIC with the banks, credit unions have that as well. So that means that if anything happens, if it's a calamity, we're in a pandemic, things happen, right? You want to make sure you have that. That insurance is basically an insurance policy in a sense, and of course you're already funding it, right? You're funding that insurance policy, but you're not taking advantage of it because of course it's a government agency. So it's about us, being able to take advantage of that insurance policy so that we know that when folks contribute, when folks use the credit union, when folks actually become part of the credit union, any funds they have in there is insured at least up to $250,000.
All right, just want to give a shout out to Vicky Davy. She said she's going to support the credit union. She likes everything she's heard. That's great. We want to get more people like that involved in this endeavor. We definitely want to make sure that we're doing our jobs and communicating with the family and being a part of this overall movement, and like what we like to call the HAPI movement. It's an extraordinary endeavor. I just want for you to tell the family about people, other board members like Tony Browder that's on the board, notable people. Can you just expound on that?
Sure. And we thank Brother Tony Browder for being, from Git. I think he's probably the first person, maybe not the first, but probably either, if not the first, maybe the second, that Brother Lasana approached, to be a board member. And we have Brother Brandon Green, who is also the associate director of appeal. We have Sister M. Ma'at on committee. She has the 7 Principles, which is an organization and a business that does a lot of work in the community. We have Brother Frank Narma-John. We have Dr. Ngozi Williams. And these are all names that have been engaged in this long distance work for a really long time in areas of education, business, finance, what have you. We also have a lot of notable members, like I think Assistant Kichi Taifa might have been on here. If she hasn't, she probably should be on there. Sister Ayana Gregory, Brother Renoka Rashidi. We have many, many notable members of the organization. But those 5 I just mentioned, in addition to myself, are the board members of appeal.
Thank you. Family, you heard that. There's some notable people involved in this endeavor. Felicia, please put the information back up again, how the people can go support. We want them to go straight to the crowdfunding and support it. We understand fully what that takes. HAPI would not have come into fruition if it was not for the support of the community. So it's extremely important that people go out and support these endeavors, like the ACER Restoration Project, the appeal, HAPI. So please go out and support these endeavors. It's extremely important. One of the things that came up recently with this pandemic is the kind of, I won't say recreation, but the reiteration of what people are calling susus a lot, and people have kind of used those to substitute credit unions and banks, particularly in our community. And some positive and some negative, I guess, feedback from these endeavors. But Dr. Egwim, can you please kind of talk to that, please, if you will?
Yes, we've done many workshops on susus. Susus are ancient, traditional forms of savings, actually, which is still used today, especially among the continental African community in the U.S. And it's a very important tool. A lot of businesses are functioning and exist because of the use of susus. Unfortunately, very recently, you sort of heard the word susu being used a lot, but they're not being used for susus. Unfortunately, you have people who have, I don't know what their motivations are, but they've decided to use this very ancient and useful tool to market, pyramid schemes, for lack of a better term, right? They've decided that this is a gateway in. Let's try to make a pyramid scheme cultural, right? Find a cultural get in. As soon as you walk in there, first thing they tell you is, oh, by the way, this is not an Isusu, but Isusus it is, but this is not an Isusu. So why did you even bring it up? So they're basically tarnishing the name of this very, very valuable, useful tool. And we have many, many Isusus among members of appeal. We have workshops. We don't have a susu ourselves, but we educate our community, through our financial literacy workshops, and we bring folks who have organized them in the past, and they educate the community. And within our members, they put many of them together. Isusus themselves, of course, limited in the sense that Isusus are all about, well, there are many things. They're about savings, but they're also about building close relationships with the folks who are in Isusu. They're very functional with actually building trust among Black people. And I would encourage people to look into actual Isusus, because it's a way of destroying this mythology that you can't trust Black people with money, right? Being able to interact on a regular basis and have folks be accountable to each other, right, on a regular basis, is something that we're not really we're not seeing enough of, right? So susus, the real susus, not the pyramid schemes that look like them, but real susus are really about Black people being able to pull our resources together. But of course, that's very different from what we're trying to do. You know, the First National Credit Union is a much bigger picture, right? You know, and hopefully the various Isusus all over the country, including the ones that are from Appeal members and others, will have their money, you know, in the credit union. You know, so it's a much bigger effort. It's not just about savings. You know, credit unions, you know, provide any service you get from a bank right now, right? Your checking, your direct deposit, your home loans, your car loans. Certain investment opportunities. You know, community revitalizations, just things that you simply can't do. You know, in a small and usually SUSUs are narrowly focused for a reason, and they're very valuable for that. It's just very different from what we're doing. It is a shame that unfortunately they've become popular to folks who don't know what they are through these mediums that have really, in my opinion, tried to use it to market, a form of exploitation to the community. And it's a shame that folks are being introduced to it in that way. But hopefully folks actually do their research and learn about Isusus, or simply come to our workshops. We have workshops on actual Isusus with folks who have experience on the Isusus and how to actually establish them, how they work. It's about mutual benefit. There's no gamble, right? The Isusus are not about gambling. It's not about hoping this and that. It's not about trying to get somebody to 10 people or whatever. None of that. That's not what Isusus are about.
About working together, about the black community working together. With that, Professor Browder, can you please give us some historical commentary on successes of black people working together?
Well, I think one example is HAPI, how this film came together. People may look at purchasing a digital download of the film or a DVD of the film, but what they have to realize is that you and your production team came together years ago, conceived of the concept of the film, scripted it, brought in the producers to help you raise the money, identify all of the personalities that you wanted to interview for the film, and then went out and shot those interviews, invested a ton of money before you even began to see a return on your investment. But you had the end, you began with the end in mind. You knew what this film and the projects associated with this film would bring into fruition. So whenever you're working on something that is new, you have to begin with the end in mind, or should I say, those people who are successful in engaging in endeavors begin with the end in mind, tying into the reality that the mind is the most critical tool that you will ever possess. And to be able to use the mind to create and bring into manifestations things that don't exist now, but things that you can conceive of, and then pull together the team in order to make this concept a reality. And then once it becomes a reality, once the film is out, then you've got to promote the film. And then you look at additional ways to support the promotion of the film, the HAPI Talks, and all these things that you're doing are part of an ever-growing, ever-evolving process. So any financial endeavor that is going to involve our people has to operate the same way. You have a concept. You bring together a team of skilled individuals who will execute their particular part of that concept. And then once you get the concept formed, then it's about implementation, taking it out to the masses, and then continuing to massage and tweak this thing such that a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, it blossoms into this concept that you had ages ago. So this is the process by which everything happens. And so these ideas that have been planted in our minds about Black people not being able to work together, not being able to trust each other, are just false concepts that don't stand up to the test of time. When you think in terms of what African people were able to do in the 1920s, shortly after, the second generation of African people after enslavement were able to pool their resources during the midst of the worst racial and climate in the United States post-slavery, when a black person was being lynched at least once a week in America, where American apartheid was the law of the land. African people living in a racially segregated society, we're able to create more businesses then than we have right now. So we were forced to do those things that we've always had the capacity to do. And now that we are free to spend our money with whomever we want, we have to remember the power and the value associated with spending money with like-minded individuals who are going to ensure that your investment will pay off for generations. You know, if you think in terms of, you know, back in, when was it, 2000 and 2007, 2008, when we had the last financial crisis, you know, one of the biggest financial institutions responsible for undermining the wealth of Black folk was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo Bank was responsible for Black folk in Prince George's County, Maryland, where I live. Prince George's County borders Washington, D.C. More Black folk lost their homes because of Wells Fargo in Prince George's County, which is the largest minority county in the United States of America. But what happened to Wells Fargo? Nothing. Wells Fargo is still taking the money of Black folk. Wells Fargo is still financing Black radio stations and Black entertainers. You know, Tavis Smiley, when Tavis Smiley came out and did this We Are America campaign, it was all financed by Wells Fargo. So just because a company has billions of dollars.
We lost your audio.
Are you here now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
good. So, it's about knowing that we have no permanent friends. It's a matter of knowing that all we have is ourselves. And when we rely on ourselves, we normally come through. We have a greater track record of us working together for our mutual benefit than there is a track record of us destroying ourselves. That's the reality that I'm aware of. And that's the reality that Appeal demonstrates to me. That's the reality that HAPI Appeals brings to my consciousness and other people who've worked together. I saw we've got Brother James Small on the line. And when I think of Brother James Small, I can't think of Brother Small without thinking of Brother Jeffries. And I can't think of Jeffries and Small without thinking of Dr. Clark. And I can't think of Dr. Clark without thinking about Dr. Ben and Ivan Van Sertima and Asa Hilliard and all these folks. So we're part of this continuum. All right, we're part of this continuum. We have never been separated from that spirit that has always driven us. And so what Appeal is doing is making people aware of this capacity we have, this right, this birthright, as Brother Kelechi said. We have a birthright to support one another. And I saw that someone had asked a question as to whether or not you can support Appeal if you live outside the United States. As long as you're living, you can support Appeal. Right? As long as you're living, you can support other Black people. And it's about realizing that there are no boundaries. You know, we live in a digital world. So you don't need a physical bank anymore to save your money. So it's about using this technology, just as the HAPI team is using their technology to spread this message all over the world. And no one can stop us from doing what we're doing. So it's about developing strategic partnerships. It's about us working together collectively because, you know, HAPI is raising money for their projects. The Asa Restoration Project is raising money for their projects. The Appeal is raising money for their project. So it's not like we're encroaching on other people's opportunities to raise money. There's enough money out here for everything. And it's simply a matter now of being conscious of what you want to support with your money, with your consciousness, with your thoughts, with your time, with your energy, with your speech, and realize that as America is disintegrating right before our very eyes, we are witnessing the chickens coming home to roost. We are witnessing the dismantling of America in real time. We do not have to go down with the ship. There are things that we can do now. Africans living in America are the wealthiest and best educated African people on the planet. We are the linchpin to controlling the destiny of African people for the next 1,000 years. So once we latch on to that reality, and that is my reality, right? Once we latch on to that reality and instill that understanding, that knowledge into other people that we interact with, then we have the capacity to fulfill all of the goals that we establish for ourselves. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now in real time.
Professor Browder, could you just please give us an update on this fabulous endeavor, the AC Restoration Project, where we stand right now?
Well, where we stand right now, man, is that our 2020 season was our most productive season. We found 4 new tombs, and in these 4 new tombs, we have 7 shafts, and we've excavated about half of those 7 shafts. And what we found has just expanded our knowledge of Kemetic history and Kushite history and the 25th dynasty specifically. We also found our crowning achievement last season was the discovery of a pyramidion, which is the capstone of a pyramid that belonged to one of the occupants of one of the tombs that we've been excavating. So we can now prove that we have in our possession the physical remnant of what was a pyramidion, or so context now. Pyramid is a Greek word. The African term for this architectural structure is mir, and the word mir means the place of ascension. So above the tomb of these individuals, and we believe that there were at least 3 above each of these 3 major tombs we have at our site, was this vehicle designed to facilitate the ascension of the soul in this burial chamber into a specific location in heaven where that soul will be reborn. So we found the evidence of that. But the other reality is that every time we excavate a tomb, we're giving life, we're giving energy back to the occupant of that tomb. We are revitalizing their soul, if you will. We're giving power to their soul. So by speaking the names of Karakomen, of Karabashkin, of Nespanetjet, by speaking their names, we're giving them power. And by giving them power, they now have the ability to interact with us, right? It's making an investment in the ancestors who would then invest in us. And the means by which they invest in us is by inspiring us, right? Is by inspiriting us, their energy. As we said at the beginning of this talk, everything is energy, right? And it's simply a matter of knowing how to manage this energy such that it will build as opposed to destroy. And so every time we call on these ancestors, they inspire us. They affect us on a quantum level, if you will, on a cellular level. And then they infuse their energy in us. So it gives us the ideas, it gives us the energy, it gives us the will and determination to do those things that they are whispering in our ear, right? And telling us that we can do again. So we're recreating our ancient world in the modern era. So this connection to our ancestors is not broken. Even though our oppressor wanted us to believe that we were not African and that we have nothing to do with the African people, we have been able to show a direct line of ascension, a direct line of consciousness from the Nile to the Niger, to the Hudson, to the Potomac, to the Mississippi, and that we're all part of the same continuum. So by tapping into that power that has always been accessible to us, we now have the ability to bring into manifestation anything that we desire. So we desire to produce HAPI and HAPI talks and everything associated with that. We desire to bring into manifestation appeal and the credit union and all of the things associated with that. We desire to bring into manifestation the ACE Restoration Project and to not only restore the tombs of our ancient ancestors, but to restore the consciousness of African people in real time. So all of this is happening at a moment when America is disintegrating right before our very eyes, right? You can't make this stuff up, right? We were born for this moment. And so in the midst of the pandemic, there are opportunities, and we've seen this last year. There have been incredible opportunities for growth, cultural growth, financial growth. People are now coming together because we've come to realize that the people that we've trusted to safeguard our well-being have failed miserably. 410,000 deaths in the United States of America. That's unconscionable. So if that's not proof that this country doesn't care about you, I don't know what is. We have to care about ourselves, right? We have to be intentional about what we do with our energy, and we have to be willing to commit the rest of our lives for multiple lifetimes if necessary in order to restore the order that is required in order to bring peace and justice to the world. That's our legacy. And so we are, the brothers and sisters who are involved in this process are part of a continuum, and we are doing what the ancestors would want us to do in order to benefit those who are coming behind us.
You know, wow. You get some afternoon jewels here. I didn't really expect this type of conversation to have to happen this afternoon. But one of the things, this word keeps sticking out to me, and that's ownership. And taking ownership of our legacy, taking ownership of our finance, taking ownership of our history. And I can honestly say for myself personally, one of the things that, well, one of the many things I got from Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization is we have to be our own Egyptologists, our own archaeologists, anthropologists. These are things that we must do. We must have ownership of these things in order to tell our story. And for me, that was one of the direct inspirations for HAPI, was to tell that story based on what I got on Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, having ownership. And also when I think about just appeal, what this means for us to be a part of this vast African community is to take ownership of our economics, take ownership of our finances. So we must go out and support these endeavors like Baba Tony Browder just said. It's extremely important. We must have ownership of what we're doing. We must control what we're taking in. We must control what we consume. We must control also what's going out. With that, Dr. Egwim, there's some more information we would like to know about just the establishment of the Federal Credit Union, like just in terms of the steps, the sequences. If you can, just briefly give us the sequences of steps and what it takes to open up a credit union.
Well, I'll summarize it.
Yeah, I know. That's why, kind of brief. You can kind of bullet point it.
Absolutely. So some of the, the first part was obviously to understand the process, understand the rules, understand the regulations, what have you, study it. And then, we actually did a survey of sorts of the community to see whether there was interest, was there enough interest to actually make it happen, because at the end of the day, you have to have customers, you have to have members, right? And past that, you have to figure out what your credit union is based on. Of course, in this case, the only requirement to be a part of this effort would be if you're someone who supports the mission of appeal, right? If you're a person of African descent and you're in this country, you can be a member. If you're outside of this country, you can support. And if you have, of course, you have to have some type of legal connection with the U.S. in order to get an account in an institution in the U.S. But aside from that, anyone who is supportive of the mission to uplift African people can be part of this, regardless of where they are. But identifying that and putting it in a way that is legally box, if you will, had to be done. And then go through the process of which we've done all that. Of course, we went through the process of getting our commonality, in terms of this process, approved, in the sense that you have to define all these things, all types of bylaws and business plans and what have you. So all that work, it takes time, but we've actually done that. We're at the point we actually have preliminary approval based on all this that's been done. You have to identify individuals who will safeguard it, who will sort of be the point people, if you will. You have to have at least, in this case of NCUA, you need to have at least 7 people who will be what they call subscribers, which sounds like something else, because subscriber is thrown around a lot. In this case, these are the point people. And they have to be very, very well vetted, because you want to make sure you have folks who are responsible. So, and then getting approved for the name and the identity and so on and so forth. It's all part of the process. And of course, where we are right now, where we're at the point of demonstrating economic viability through capital. Being able to demonstrate that you have a certain amount of capital to operate for a certain amount of time. In this case, that's where the 300,000 comes in terms of being able to show the capital and raise funds. We've been raising funds, and we've gotten to over 100,000 at this point, and we need to get to the rest of it, which is why we're doing this. So it's a long process, all worthwhile, and it's important that it takes the time that it takes, because you need folks who are committed. You need folks who are going to be long distance runners. You need to make sure that the folks who are engaged are going to be there from the beginning to the end, right? So we're long in this, right? But we know that with the support of the community at this point, we can actually get to that next step where we can, have this credit union, once it's founded, operating and able to support the Issa Restoration Project or many of the other, efforts that we know we desperately need in our community globally. This is about capital of African people, not just in the United States, but all over the continent. But you need to have an economic vehicle to do that. You can't go to Ghana and say, I want to invest in cocoa, and you don't have any capital to buy the cocoa. You got the folks in South Africa who are from different parts of Europe still controlling diamond mines. You want to control that. Well, how are you going to do that? You don't have the capital to do that. We need to begin to use the capital that we have in the most capital rich group, at least in terms of cash, of African people in the world, which is right here in the United States, and use that to reinvest, right, and to build the continent. Because wherever you are as an African person, if Africa is not secure, if Africa is not sustainable, you are not secure, and you are not sustainable. There is no disconnection. Let's not be confused about that. You cannot build a little cul-de-sac of yourself here in America and be safe. That's not how it works. We look at countries like China. Now, China is a superpower, which seems like a really easy thing to understand now. But go back 50 years ago, right? A Chinaman's chance, right? Remember that terminology? The idea that China could be a superpower. Malcolm said that this country of rice growers and patty, sellers, now all of a sudden they're superpowers. How did that happen? Because they built up their foundation. They built up the land. They built up that home, which now empowers people of Chinese descent, regardless of wherever they are. Right? We need to realize that Africa is our anchor. It is our home. Whether you plan to go there or not, whether you ever plan to visit or not, if it's not secure and sustainable, then whatever you're doing wherever is vulnerable. And key to doing that is being able to harness the capital we have right here in the US of A in order to make sure that we're able to benefit from the capital we have in the ground on the continent. This is a vehicle to achieve all that.
Thank you. Wow, there's some things that you said earlier that was really essential to this discussion, and that is the workshops or the financial wellness, financial literacy workshops that you guys have, because it's important for people to understand that at the forefront of this is the care and love for the community and teaching people about how to understand finance. It's not just about trying to get their money, put it into the credit union, but it's about helping people. And before you get into that, family, take the time, take a second, please like this video. It's important that we like the videos. Let's be clear here that we're doing these things, these conversations over mediums that don't necessarily want this information to get out.
Yep.
And the only way it gets out, if we break the algorithms, you have to like the videos. Like I said, take the second, like the videos. Please share the video. Comment on the videos, and it's important that we do this because it's the only way other people are going to see this. You got to like it, you got to share it, and you got to subscribe to the channel, because that's the only way this works. It doesn't work if we're not doing that. So with that, Dr. Egwim, helping people, the financial classes, could you please just elaborate on that briefly?
Right. So we like to meet people wherever they are, right? And we know that our folks are on different levels. So we really start with some real basic stuff like, what is an account? What is a checking account? What's a savings account? Why should I save? How do I prepare for retirement? I've been working this job for 20, 30, 20, 25 years. How do I prepare for retirement? How do I help my child make sure that they're able to afford education when they go to college, right? How do we begin to save and take advantage of the tools that are available, to save? So it gets real basic from there, and then we can sort of get broader with it in terms of investing. We've had workshops on everything from from gold investing to Bitcoin to regular investing into either stocks or bonds or what have you. So we try to provide a broad level of education and stuff. Wherever somebody is, we want to meet them there, right? And then we don't want to lose anybody who's a little bit more advanced, who wants to network, who wants to connect with like-minded individuals who may be in finance and so on and so forth. So we have a variety of workshops, that really start from the very basic, literally, how do I balance my checking account, all the way up to, more complicated things like how to become an international real estate investor. How do I buy land in Ghana? Things like that. So we really try to meet folks wherever they are, and we provide financial literacy workshops on a variety of those topics in order to do that, paired, of course, with the historical cultural literacy piece, because it is important that we understand that it's not just about money. Money by itself is just currency, right? It's a tool, right? But you have to know how to use that tool. I mean, a knife is a really important tool, but you can do a lot of good and a lot of harm with that knife, right? Like any other tool, you have to understand it. You have to understand your relationship with it, right? Understand the historical context in which you're operating. So it's important that we not minimize the historical, cultural, and political education that happens in the Peel, along with the financial literacy piece.
Right. So, family, one of the things that also came out of this this union or this unification, like we like to call HAPI, is the better united than divided. That's like a new call sign, better united than divided, is working with the Peel to facilitate financial wellness courses with the HAPI movement. So just be looking forward to seeing that in the near future. Something that we're going to be working on in upcoming in the near future, and we're going to roll it out to the community. With that, Professor Browder, any closing words? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, I want to thank you two brothers for staying the course. The baton has been passed on to you, and you're going to run this race as far as you can. You're going to model for others, particularly those younger than you, your children, to see how real African men and women live their lives. And then they're going to continue this race after we're gone. That's the process. We're part of a continuum. And everyone has to do their part. When I say everyone has to do their part, I'm speaking in broad general terms, because I know not everyone is capable of doing their part, or not everyone is going to do their part. But as long as we hold that up as a goal, everyone must do their part. So there is a place, a space for everybody to do something. And so it's about realizing that you're not powerless, that you're not poor, that you're not nothing. We are the essence of life itself, and that we have walking among us within our communities, within our physical communities, and within our cyber and digital communities, we have access to souls who will remind us that we are connected to a network that is bigger than our world, and that spans time itself. So we're part of something bigger. And I ask that everyone recognize that. And let me just add this component to it as well. Because of the fact that fear has been injected in our minds over the past year because of COVID. We have lost a lot of people because of COVID. Worlds have been disrupted, and we've learned to greater appreciate the value of life, because friends have died, friends have gotten ill. And so if we've learned nothing else over this past year, it's a reminder of how precious life is, and that we never know when we're going to go. The only thing that we have control over is what we think about at the moment and what we do from every moment forward. So don't waste your lives. Don't sit back and say, well, I'm going to get to the Appeal crowdfunding campaign later on in the week. No, do it now. do it now, because now is all we have. And when we act in the now and connect with other people who are also acting in the now, then that expanded consciousness then makes the now last forever, right? So that's my reality that I see us stepping into, I see us taking ownership of, and as a result of moving into this new space, we're literally transforming the world everywhere we go. And that is what makes the world worth living.
Yes, do it now. You got to do it now.
Absolutely.
You know, family, please take the advice of this theme elder, Tony Browder. Do it now. Information's on the screen. Support a pill. Support the ACER Restoration Project. You got to support these projects. Support HAPI. Brothers, thank you for coming today. Dr. Egwim, we will be in touch. We're going to have you back on shortly. We're going to make this an ongoing effort. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing this until the goal is met.
Absolutely.
With that, if the brothers can hang out in the backstage briefly, I just want to close out the show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for having us.
All right. Thank you. Peace. So, family, there was fantastic show. First kind of afternoon show during the week. Tremendous response. Thanks for the support. People coming out to be a part of this. As always, we make the announcement. You gotta go see HAPI. HAPI is the foundation for the HAPI Talks. Sometimes that gets lost in translation. People see the HAPI Talks, they love it, but the film is the genesis. That is where it all started. The next screening, Saturday, February 13th, 7 p.m., followed by the esteemed panel discussion with the various scholars that were in the film, exclusive only to ticket holders. If you do not want to wait to February 13th, you can always go get a digital copy from the website as well as a DVD. You can also support HAPI by, getting one of the t-shirts. We just came back out with the Nubia t-shirts. Released them. Nubia was the foundation, how it started. Back in 2006, we did the first documentary, Nubia, the Untold Story. Got to go get it. We got the short sleeve, as you can see here, the long sleeve t-shirts, the HAPI Compass. Please go support it. Also, very important, family. We also, you don't want any merchandise or film or anything like that. There's also the Cash App. Please, if you can, go support that. Super chats. Please be a part of this movement. We're about bringing Black people together, better united than divided. And with that, one more last announcement. Just want to say this Thursday, 7 p.m., King Simon, make sure you tune in to that broadcast. And you want to say thank you to all people, all those out there that support us, the HAPI team, all our elders, everyone that's involved in this. We love you guys. Peace.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?